Welcome to the next part of the Examination of the Newborn series. We've just examined the head and neck, and now we're moving on to the upper limbs themselves. Here we're going to inspect them, assessing them for symmetry. Both arms should be similar in size and length, and tone should be equal on both sides. If there's reduced movement or tone on one side, I'll consider possible causes such as nerve injuries from birth, like an Erb's palsy or a clavicular fracture. Then I'll examine the hands, counting all the fingers, checking for any webbing, polydactyly, or missing digits. I'll also look for parakinesia as well. I'll look at the palms to see whether the baby has the expected 2 palmar creases, and while I'm here, I'll also check the grasp reflex. I'm now going to move on to the gastrointestinal system. So the abdomen, I'm going to observe it for evidence of abdominal distension. Cause of this could include bowel obstruction, organomegaly, and ascites. I'll then inspect the umbilicus, noting any swelling, such as an umbilical hernia, any erythema, any discharge, for example, umbilical cord, stump cord infection, and I'll check for 2 arteries and a vein, remembering that a single artery is linked to renal malformations. I'll then auscultate for bowel sounds. Then I can palpate the abdomen to assess for organomegaly. The liver should be palpable no more than 2 centimetres below the costal margin. If it's palpable lower in the abdomen, we need to consider hepatomegaly. The spleen may be palpable at the left costal margin in healthy infants. If it's easily palpable, we need to consider splenomegaly. The kidneys are normally only palpable using deep bimanual palpation. If these are easily palpable, we need to consider polycystic kidney disease. Next, I'm going to examine the genitalia. First, I'm going to look for ambiguity of the genitalia. This can be a sign of certain conditions, most commonly congenital adrenal hyperplasia. In girls with CAH, the genitalia may appear viralized, whereas with boys, they'll typically have a normal external genitalia. If in examining a baby boy, which I am, I'll start by checking the position of the urethral meatus. An abnormal position can indicate conditions such as hypospadias or epispadias. I'll examine the size of the penis. Normally it should measure at least 2 centimetres in the newborn period. And I'll examine any swelling of the testes that might indicate a hydrocele. To tell if it's a hydrocele, the swelling will usually transilluminate when a light is shone through it. And finally, I'll palpate the scrotum to confirm that both testes are present. A single undescended testes is relatively common and can be monitored over time, but if neither testes is palpable, this is considered a disorder of sexual development and requires further investigations. Now I'll examine the lower limbs, and I'm going to start by inspecting the legs for any abnormalities. First, I'll check the symmetry. They should be equal in size and length. I'll look for any swelling or edema, which could sometimes indicate conditions like hypoalbuminemia, or less commonly in a newborn, congestive cardiac failure. In a newborn in heart failure, swelling usually appears around the eyes first. I'll also, like with the hands, check for any missing digits, extra digits, or webbing. I'll assess muscle tone in both legs. Tone can be decreased in conditions like Down syndrome or asymmetrically increased due to upper motor neuron lesions, such as a neonatal stroke or an intracranial hemorrhage. I'll observe movement in both legs as well, looking for any weakness that might suggest an underlying neurological problem or joint abnormality. I'll then test the reflexes, including the Babinski and the plantar reflexes on the feet. And finally, I'll assess ankle dorsiflexion to check for talipes, either positional or fixed. Normally, it's difficult on this style. The ankle should fully flex. If it doesn't, it could indicate an abnormality of the talus bone in the foot. And then I'll move on to the back and spine. Ideally, we'd inspect the spine prior to the hips. This also gives us a good opportunity to assess the symmetry of the gluteal folds. I'm inspecting the spine for scoliosis, for hair tufts, nevi, birthmarks. Sacral pits are concerning if they're more than 3 centimetres away from the anus, because hair tufts and sacral pits can be associated with underlying neural tube defects, for example, spina bifida. I'll turn the baby back over, and this is when I would assess the hips. The Barlow and Ortolani tests are carried out in the UK as part of the NIPE screening programme to detect hip instability and dislocation. In line with guidance, each hip should be examined individually. The Barlow test is used to screen for a dislocatable hip by attempting to dislocate it, whereas the Ortolani test is then used to confirm the positive finding, i.e. the hip is actually dislocated. There is an excellent video demonstrating these, which I will link in the comments. I'll inspect the anus for patency. Abnormal embryological development of the rectum can result in an imperforate anus. Meconium should be passed within 24 hours. A delay is suggestive of obstruction or Hirschsprung's disease. I'm then going to assess the neurological system. So the absence of several reflexes might indicate an underlying neurological abnormality. I'm going to start with the Moro reflex. So supporting the infant's upper back with one hand, I'm then going to drop the baby back once or twice into my other hand. A normal Moro reflex involves the extension of the legs and heads while the arms jerk upwards with the fingers extended. The arms are then brought together, the hands clench into fists, and the infant cries. Asymmetry may be due to hemiparesis, brachial plexus injury, or a fractured clavicle. There are many other reflexes we can check, which I won't demonstrate here as the doll has no ability to react. It's also important to assess tone. As we're doing the examination, we're going to be examining the baby, moving the baby's limbs, so we can pick up if this baby is hypertonic. Hypertonic infants are often described as feeling like a rag doll due to their floppiness. They often have difficulty feeding as their mouth muscles cannot maintain a proper suck-swallow pattern or a good breastfeeding latch. Finally, I'm going to inspect the skin. Obviously, I have been able to see the skin the whole time, but I'm now going to inspect for colour, looking for any pallor or ashen skin, depending on skin colour, any cyanosis, any erythema, any plethora, or any jaundice. I look for any bruising and lacerations, noting the size and location, because they may have been sustained during childbirth. I'll also note any hemangiomas, also known as strawberry marks. These are blood vessels which form a raised red lump on the skin, appearing soon after birth. They typically get bigger over the first 6 to 12 months and then shrink and disappear by the age of 7. They might require treatment depending on their location if they affect vision, breathing, or feeding. I will also note and discuss with the parents any peeling, any port wine stain, any slate grey nevus, milia, or erythema toxicum. These should be documented and measured if needed. It can be an important safeguarding concern where skin conditions may appear bruise-like. This completes the examination of the newborn, and as I have finished the assessment, I will share the results of the assessment with the parents, explaining the reason for any referrals or follow-up I feel are required. I'll also check if the parents have any further questions and provide education on relevant topics, and let them know this test will be repeated at 6 to 8 weeks by the GP. It's important that we document all findings and fill out the NIPE database and hand over a care plan to the midwives, either caring for the baby on the ward or at transfer into community. The care plan for the baby should be a team approach and involve paediatricians, hearing screeners, midwives and health visitors to improve outcomes and support a holistic approach. Thank you for watching. This series video covered the examination of the newborn. I hope you found it helpful. Please note that this is not an exhaustive list of every condition that could be screened for, and this is designed as a stepping stone for your learning.